Right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. So we're going to take a look at another segment from the Politics Live show. This time they're talking about the Labour Party and its current infighting surrounding Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour Party's actions regarding non-disclosure agreements, Panorama programmes and Labour's Lords resigning. It's just more evidence the Labour Party is falling apart from the inside. Now, discussing the issue is Labour MP Wes Streeting, Andy McDonald, also from the Labour Party, Layla Moran from the Liberal Democrats and Camilla Tominey from the Telegraph. Let's check out the first clip.
We're going to talk about Labour and the issue of anti-Semitism. Let's welcome Wes Streeting, Labour MP. Wes, the peers Lord Turnberg, Lord Darzai and Lord David Treisman have resigned the Labour whip over anti-Semitism. What's your response?
To be honest, I'm absolutely gutted. I mean, I know David Treisman very well, worked with him when he was Minister for Students in the last Labour government. He's a former General Secretary of the Labour Party. The two peers who've left alongside him are both distinguished, both in their own fields, but also their contribution to the Labour benches in the House of Lords. And I just wonder how much it will take, how much more it will take, how many more resignations it will take for Labour's leadership to finally take the issue of anti-Semitism seriously. You know, this evening Panorama have a documentary airing. I don't know what's in it. I don't know if it's any good because I haven't seen it. And yet what we've got is a full spin operation sanctioned by the Labour leadership in operation trying to discredit and delegitimise a programme they haven't seen. I don't need a Panorama documentary to tell me about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. I've lived through this issue in the last 4 years. The poor administration of cases, the overly lenient decisions made in cases that have been seen, the degree of political interference in cases, and the mealy-mouthed responses to concerns from people right across the Jewish community, including leading Jewish representative bodies. And then, to add insult to injury, the attempt to discredit and smear people who raise concerns about anti-Semitism. It's all a smear, they say. I think this is, you know, absolutely a terrible place for the Labour Party to be in. We are subject to an EHRC investigation. We're only the second political party in British history to be subject to such an investigation into institutional racism.
Well,
the first was the BNP.
Wes, I hear you. People may listen to you and hear everything that you have said about your own party. Why are you still there?
Because I haven't given up on the Labour Party, its 100-year history, the fact that I've got plenty of people in the Parliamentary Labour Party, within my own constituency Labour Party and beyond, who are prepared to wrestle the Labour Party back in terms of its commitment to equality in sincere forms. And I have to say to people in and around the leadership of the Labour Party, particularly those who I think do recognise that there's a problem, what actually are you going to do? It's all very well people like me appearing on programmes like yours, whilst Corbynistas swamp my timeline saying, well, he would say that, he's not a fan of Jeremy Corbyn. I'd like to know what those decent members of the Shadow Cabinet are going to say about this. I'd like to know what decent members of the Parliamentary Party are going to say about it.
What do you say then when the Labour Party has just put out a statement saying it completely rejects what it calls the offensive and false claims made by the three peers who have resigned the Labour whip?
I mean, what can you say to that? I think it's contemptuous, actually. And here's a test, actually, for members of the Shadow Cabinet who do broadcast today, and for Jeremy Corbyn in particular. If the Labour Party is genuinely serious about tackling anti-Semitism, if it believes it has nothing to hide, why won't it cancel immediately the obligations under non-disclosure agreements it's imposed on former members of the compliance unit who've dealt in depth with anti-Semitism cases, remove those gagging orders, set them free to speak publicly and truthfully about their experience? Will they do that, or is it actually the case that there's something rotten in the state of Denmark?
All right.
Right, so first we heard from the Labour MP Wes Streeting, who's got some big brass balls to stand there calling out the Commissar. Be careful, son, you might end up in the gulag. He is not happy that Labour Lords are standing down because of the current outrage surrounding Labour anti-Semitism drama. Each day, more and more people are coming out saying that Corbyn and the powers that be in the Labour Party have covered up or prevented investigations against other Labour Party members or officials, silenced people who might speak out, and who knows what else. Wes stands there calling out the Labour leadership for trying to discredit a programme they have never seen, referring of course to the Panorama programme due to air later tonight. This guy is one brave little soy boy though, Maybe he is betting on Corbyn's time being up and the Panorama show forcing Corbyn to stand down as leader. Maybe he's betting on Jeremy Corbyn's time being up and the Panorama show later today forcing Corbyn to stand down as leader. If he don't, I'm sure Corbyn will be gunning for him. He even goes on to claim he don't need the Panorama documentary to know about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. He says he has lived through the issue for the last 4 years. Leniency and political interferences have been blatant according to him, likely as blatant as the BBC biased. Like the BBC, he points out that the Corbynistas have been smearing anyone who tries to call it out before pointing out that the Labour Party are the second party in history to be investigated for racism, the first being the BNP. So the Labour Party have achieved no mean feat here, let's make that clear. What amazes me is that the BBC and the rest of the left-wing media constantly smear the Brexit Party and UKIP with calls of them being racist, but the Labour Party are only one of 2 parties ever to be investigated for it. How are the Brexit Party or UKIP racist then, and not these? It's just more proof the BBC are biased as fuck. You will see that not once do they call the Labour Party racist like they have the Brexit Party and UKIP. The BBC Trout even tries to stop him saying any more about the things Labour gets up to. She is a 100% Labour voter. This dirty commie cumbucket is 100% a Labour voter.
Right, Wes, stay with us. I want to welcome into the studio, I should say, Andy MacDonald, who's Shadow Transport, and Camilla Tominey from The Telegraph. Andy MacDonald, listening to Wes Streeting, the Panorama programme that he's talking about by the BBC poses the question, is Labour anti-Semitic? Is it an anti-Semitic party? The answer from Lord Treesman and the 2 other peers is, yes, it is.
Well, the answer from me is no, it is not. People come into the Labour Party to fight discrimination and racism. There is an issue of anti-Semitism abroad in our society, and it does rear its head in the Labour Party in a very, very small number of cases.
But it does more than rear its head. If you've got people leaving, like the 3 peers we've talked about, you've had a string of MPs leave the party, partly because of anti-Semitism that they say is absolutely rife. This issue has gone on for 3 years. You failed to deal with it. Is it, as Tony Blair says, that you just can't see anti-Semitism because you don't know what it is?
Oh, no, I totally and utterly reject that. I also reject the most heinous allegation put at the door of Jeremy Corbyn that he is anti-Semitic.
Why is it heinous?
Because Jeremy has devoted his entire life to fighting racism and standing up against anti-Semitism.
But does he know what anti-Semitism is? As Tony Blair said, Jeremy Corbyn is an anti-Semite who doesn't know that he is one. Some of the remarks are not explicable in any other way, I'm afraid, and that is sad.
He must be specific about that. He must back that up. And so what is it that Jeremy Corbyn has said that is anti-Semitic or shows no understanding of it? He's of late, he's reinforced his position, which has been echoed in the EDMs that he signed, resisting anti-Semitism through time, with articles, with videos, with letters to members, to initiating a process within the Labour Party, instructing Jenny Formby to make great progress.
And
with
yet
this
it is
issue.
still happening.
And she has speeded up the
why,
process.
Why is it?
She has speeded up the process fourfold since she came into office. We've doubled the size of the staff. We've increased the number of panels which have independent counsel who sit with them. So there's a great deal that has been done, a great deal more has to be done. But the charge of anti-Semitism, I wholeheartedly reject.
Do you think you need outside help, though? Do you think you need outside help as a Labour Party? If you fail to deal with it, which you say you have, you say it's a small number of cases, is it time to solicit outside help? You've already got the Equalities Commission investigating the party. It's only the second time they've done that with a political party. Is it time to say, we can't deal with it, we failed,
well,
we need help?
EHRC are engaged, and let's have them look at these processes, and if we can get their guidance to improve further, I welcome that, and I want to embrace that.
Let me pick up Wes Streeting's point, because he said if you are genuinely committed to rooting out anti-Semitism and admitting the breadth of the problem, as so many of your members and members of Parliament and peers see it, why is it that some of the people who've spoken out in the Panorama programme, they've broken non-disclosure agreements to speak out, why are they facing potential legal action?
Well, what do the non-disclosure agreements cover?
Well, they cover You have said yourselves that you want to get rid of NDAs, legislating to prevent making any contractual clauses which stop disclosure of future discrimination, harassment or victimisation.
Indeed.
Labour's policy is to stop that. These people are speaking out about discrimination.
That is my point entirely. No, they're talking about breaches of data. That is why people are being questioned. It's nothing to do. If anyone wants to speak about improper conduct, harassment or bullying, do it.
So non-disclosure agreements, let's be clear, the Labour Party is against non-disclosure agreement. It's going to legislate against them. But there are some NDAs that are OK, particularly if they are
misinterpreting.
No, I'm not misinterpreting.
Let me clarify it for you then, because the non-disclosure agreements we're talking about, which seek to ban people from speaking out, from whistleblowers, that is completely
But that's what these people are doing. They are speaking out about what they've seen within the Labour Party.
No, that is not true.
How do you know?
Because...
How do you know what they're speaking about?
Because I know the issues that are at large in this case. No. I've informed myself.
Have you seen the Panorama programme? Do you know what they're speaking out about?
Well, let me just give you some clues as to what I suspect is going to be in there. And I'm telling you that we do not disclose. We are not against people whistleblowing. That's the exact opposite.
But that's what these people are.
When they breach GDPR and they part with data illegally, we're duty bound, because some of those people who've been named in those disclosures are seeking legal action against the party for that breach of that legislation. So it's perfectly proper. And
are you against non-disclosure agreements, or aren't you?
Well, I've just told you, Joe.
So you are. So why are you and why have you signed up lawyers, Carter Ruck? We can show our viewers and our guests the letter from Carter Ruck lawyers where they threaten people, former employees, including the ones who have spoken to the BBC Panorama programme, saying you are subject to an enduring obligation to keep confidential all confidential information. The whole point about being a whistleblower is that you breach your non-disclosure agreement in order for the public interest to speak about what's truly going on at the heart of this of the Labour Party.
Let me respond to you, because the substance of the Carter Ruck letter has got nothing to do with this Panorama programme. It goes back to April. It's about breach of GDPR, parting with people's data.
So nobody who's spoken to the Panorama programme is going to face any legal action?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Joining us, are you worried about the BBC Panorama programme tonight?
Don't know. We'll see what it says.
Are you worried about what it might say or not?
Well, I'm worried about its objectivity, because the journalist concerned has got form. And he's written articles which have been scurrilous in his attack upon Jeremy Corbyn over the years. He's got other articles.
So it's the media's fault.
Yeah, what was the one he did with
is it the media's fault? I'm going to welcome in Laura Kunsberg, BBC's political editor.
It's a huge issue, and objectivity and partiality are critically important.
Of course, and he's not here to defend himself, and he would stand up for himself.
Corbyn's response to this is going to be a big test of his leadership. And I will find it extraordinary if we don't get to tomorrow and there are hosts of people calling for him to go.
So we hear from the boring droning fuckpig Andy McDonald, who is here to defend Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party higher-ups from the anti-Semitism accusations being levelled against them left, right and centre these days, claiming it's a small number of cases while everyone else claims it's rife. He calls the accusations against Jeremy Corbyn hideous. But it's funny how Jeremy Corbyn and the communist left are always so quick to call people they disagree with racists, anti-this, anti-that. What's the problem with it happening to him now? Andy McDonald is obviously here to defend the hypocrisy of the Labour leadership, because they operate under the rules of they do what they want, everyone else who disagrees with them are all racist and bigots. I mean, even the war criminal Tony Blair is calling out the Commissar for it. Andy is desperate to defend him though, and just deflects the criticism off. The Labour Party don't care. Corbyn is anti-UK. Him being anti-anything else should be no shock to anyone, realistically.
Right. No one's going to face any legal action for breaching their non-disclosure agreements with the Labour Party. So on the one hand, you're against them, except when it comes to protecting the Labour Party.
Now, that's an absolute
deliberate misinterpretation. No, it's not, because you've just said you're against non-disclosure agreements, and now you're saying except if it's protecting information within the Labour Party.
And all of us around this table know it's perfectly proper in contracts of employment where you must protect the data that you come into contact with, which is private and confidential. People don't consent to that being published. It's a wholly different matter if you are exposed to and understand that there's been issues of abuse or discrimination. We want to enable people to come forward with those allegations and be treated seriously and objectively.
Wes Streeting, does that reassure you in terms of the differences between the support to get rid of non-disclosure agreements, but not in this case?
No, I didn't find anything at all reassuring about that appearance, and I really think that actually people I think are decent people around the shadow cabinet are being put forward as fall guys for something that is just simply indefensible. The fact is the Labour Party could make it very clear that whistleblowing on anti-Semitism has got the green light. The good news is that people can whistleblow to the EHRC process. They can compel the Labour Party, current and former employees, to disclose all sorts of information pertinent to this investigation, and I really believe that they should. I'm just uncharacteristically lost for words actually about the response of the Labour Party and its leadership to what's happening, what we've just heard from Andy, what we hear from too many decent-minded people who generally have good consciences on this issue. What we've heard in the last 4 years has been completely appalling and unconscionable, and I do think we have to ask some hard questions about what it is about Jeremy Corbyn's politics and style of leadership that has created conditions in which anti-Semitism has been allowed to fester.
I can assure Wes that they're all decent people who are sitting around the shadow cabinet table, and they come to this in a spirit of real seriousness and a determination to root out anti-Semitism and resolve this issue. And that is our focus, that's our intention, and we shall never shift from it. And I just wish that that could be acknowledged at times and that everybody coalesces around that objective, as I know everybody wants to do, rather than being deflected by some of these ancillary matters that, quite frankly, are not helping us.
The host Joe Corbyn then asked about the NDAs, or non-disclosure agreements, that the Labour Party has been putting in place and coming down on people who come out against the Labour Party. And he tries to use the Data Protection Act as defence for the Labour Party prosecuting whistleblowers because people sue the Labour Party for breaching their data. Well, Andy, my response to that would be, if the Labour Party had nothing to hide, then these people wouldn't need to breach data laws, would they? Whistleblowers have to breach things in order to get the data out there. If you don't get up to shady shit, no one will call you out for it. You can't blame the people who expose you, blame the people whose actions you have to try and hide. So the segment ends with Wes saying he is not convinced by Andy's responses, as probably no one else in the world is either. Which of course, he wouldn't be. Andy is there to defend the party from whistleblowers. Wes calls on the decent people in the shadow cabinet, which really pisses Andy right off, forcing him to say they are all decent. Joe Coburn asks Andy if he's worried about the Panorama show. He says he's worried about its objectivity, which is something everyone worries about when it's a BBC programme. Let's have it right. Let's have it right, they are not exactly impartial, the old biased broadcasting corporation, are they? You can see that Joe is not happy Andy blames the media for being biased because the BBC sits there defending the Labour Party all the time and puts constant smears out against their political opponents, like the Brexit Party. Well, I'm going to end it there, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Leave a like and share the video as it helps the channel a lot, and consider subscribing with the notification bell to be notified when I upload a new video. And I'll see you all in the next one.